Am I the butthole for telling my dad either you pay me a proper wage or I'll quit? My dad owns a restaurant and intends to leave it to one of his kids. My sister, who is 28, was not interested and went to be a hairdresser, and my brother, who is 29, is in university. Meanwhile, I am 25, went to cook school, or whatever you call it in English, and graduated 2 years ago. I love to cook, I love to experiment, I love working in the restaurant business despite the hours being effing horrid, so I have been designated as the heir more or less. Despite everything going on, the restaurant runs great, and frankly, I take full credit for it. Ever since I took over as head chef, revamped the menu, created a system for people to order and pick up food, and so on, the amount of customers has tripled. We actually make more during this crisis, even without allowing dine-in customers, than my dad made before I worked here full-time. Atop that, I also often work when someone falls through, be it kitchen work, serving, hosting, whatever. I manage most of the accounting, and I also started a social media presence for the restaurant, which has blown up locally. Long story short, I work a minimum of 60 hours a week, often more. Now I do all of this with love. I like it despite swallowing up all my time, but that brings us to what I make. I literally make as much as the serving staff, who are all under 20, would make if they worked full-time. That is to say, I make what they would make in 40 hours while working 60+ hours and having triple the workload, and I am tired of it. I tried speaking to my dad about it, but I kept getting inconclusive answers or bullcrap answers. As an example, he talks about it being a difficult time for restaurants, so can't increase my wage despite the fact we make more despite the crisis, or crap like I'll think about it, I can barely pay my goddamn rent at this rate, let alone save even a dime. So I ended up saying what's in the title, I could get another job like yesterday, extreme shortage of chefs, and make at least double what I make right now starting out. Obviously this led to my dad and family blowing up at me, and now I am worried if I am TA. NTA sounds like your dad is just using you for cheap labor. Sure feels like it. It is. It's also illegal and bad practice. Take a week off for your mental health. Let him run things and watch it implode without you. Return and insist of a pay raise and appropriate salary structure, or you walk. You have proof you are an excellent head chef and manager. I imagine if you walk, so will most of the staff, and your dad can't afford that. It's a trump card, but you need to pull it now before you burn out and can't do this anymore. Don't assume something is illegal when we don't even know what country original post is in. Edit, added the word even. There are many other factors besides the lack of location that make it unreasonable to assume illegal activity is occurring due to potentially low pay. That's a fair point. Let's call it unethical and agree with the other points the commenter made. The year was 1995. Business ethics class in a small college in South Florida. The professor told us that if something is legal, it is by definition ethical for business purposes. Man, did I hate that class. Oh my god, I would have thrown up right then and there. Look, it's 1995, which means that in 13 states, it's completely legal to brutally rape your wife. And in 3 of those states, she cannot press charges against you for beating the tar out of her. Therefore, raping and beating your wife is not only legal, but ethical. But only if it's for business purposes. I want my clientele to understand that I identify with them and their traditional family values. That's why it's called giving her the business. There was an Am I the Butthole some time ago that original post was in the same situation, so he opened his own restaurant somewhere else and ended up more popular than his dad's. I feel like this is going the same way, haha. As someone who's working in a family business, leave. They do not appreciate you and will not. Get yourself a better paying restaurant job. With your experience, it should be no problem. And when the time comes to take over, they will insist you buy it from them. Which you won't be able to do since they underpay you. When you can't, they will sell to somebody else for a greatly inflated price due to all your hard work and screw you over. User Jugbugrug, read this. Your dad will most likely not give you the restaurant but demand you buy it. Or sell it to someone who can pay more anyway. I've seen it plenty of times. Kids work in the family business their whole lives, and then dad or grandpa sells the place outside the family when he's ready to retire. Reddit link. Or the siblings will all of a sudden feel entitled to 1/3 the value of the business, despite the fact that only original post put the work into the business, not the butthole I would have him transfer part ownership now before continuing there. You have to look out for your future. This. Please demand he transfer half of the ownership to you. This would also take care of the wage question. You're presumably the heir, so this would be the responsible thing to do for his part as well. Happened to a friend of mine. She was working for her dad doing business-related insurance. Instead of passing it on, he sold out to a larger org and effed his kids. Both quit and started over with other agencies. I really hope you meant effed over. I do. But I feel like I shouldn't change it now. User JugBugRug, thumbs up. Reddit link. User JugBugRug is how it needs to be formatted for it to work. Read the comment above. Reddit link. Is this actually common in America? I know you guys are not really as familial as other cultures, but that is cold. Hear and see, the reason why people yearn for a family business is for their children to inherit it in the first place. I just can't imagine somebody creating a business, make it successful, and then selling it for their personal retirement money. All the stories I hear about family in the US, it's like you stop being a family once you turn 18. I'm actually from Australia, and the family that pulled this stunt were Italian migrants. Selfish people come from all cultures. I've seen family business transition beautifully and fairly as well. The signs are usually there early, such as with Op. Oh, that stings to read, but yeah, all that free labor would reduce expenses by probably over $1,000 a month. And could literally force someone to pay an extra $50,000 for the business easily. Not just the free labor, but taking what original post has said at face value. He has renewed the menu, tripled business, and established an online social media presence. He has pushed the purchase price up significantly. I may be jaded, but I think parents will only see dollar. Yeah, really, all that revenue could plummet without Op. Wow, that could really drive up the valuation by hundreds of thousands. Op should demand a stake in the business and profits before he considers going back. I would never trust the parent to hand it over, sell at any discount. This. My partner and I worked for a privately owned pizza place, and the owner's plan was for us to take over and him to retire. He literally wanted us to buy it from him while only paying me $30 a day, and I worked minimum 8-hour shifts. Yes, I'm an idiot, but he was really persuasive at first and constantly complimenting my work and how I ran things. Obviously it did not work out, and on hindsight he probably never intended to ever sell it to us, but was taking advantage of our kind nature and need for work. You're not going to get back the time you've already put in, let alone future time, if you continue there. This is so accurate that it's kind of unsettling. Like I said, either I get paid properly or I am out. Exactly. I'm glad you know your worth. It took me 3 years to know mine. I am leaving my job this weekend because of how I get paid currently. Tell me your story. I work for a small business that's owned by my friend's mom and stepfather. It's a medical job that requires knowledge of the field, which I had none, but they hired me anyway because I'm a quick learner. The average starting pay for this field is $20, $22 an hour, and I was only getting paid $10 in the beginning, which was fine because I wasn't certified. I was blinded by their fake kindness in the beginning, but then I started to notice certain things. They had 8 employees in 2017 and made $500,000 for the year. 4 of us were getting paid less than $15. No health benefits until 2 years ago. The promise of a bonus, but then instead of investing in the employees, they bought new windows for their house with that money, which is fine. You can do whatever you want with your money, but don't promise us bonuses if you're not going to follow through. My first huge issue that almost made me quit. I was hired May 2017 and another coworker, a man, was hired June 2018, a year later. I found out last November that my boss was paying him 0.75 cents more than me, so I had a conversation with her about it and she gave me a raise. Then I found out of April this year that she gave him another raise, and this time it was a whole $1 more than what I was making. I said nothing. Then in July they pulled aside and gave me a raise, and it was still less than him, and gave another male coworker a raise as well. That coworker was hired a year and a half after I was and was making the same as me. So I decided it was time for me to move on because they can pay us whatever they like, but I'm allowed to not like it and leave. So I told them yesterday I was leaving the company this Saturday and that they're lucky I gave them a notice at all. There's more reasons why I quit, mostly to do with the PPP loan that was given during the pandemic, but that's too much to write. I should clarify that I am a woman and I'd like to think this wasn't sexist, but it sure feels that way. It is. My wife, I'm a guy, got 25 cents less on a raise than all her male coworkers at the same point, 1 year after hiring. She works close to minimum wage. There's no good justification for the difference. It just seems that, consciously or not, they expect more out of her than they do male coworkers, so they feel justified in providing her lower pay because she doesn't meet their higher expectations. It's probably not conscious sexism, but it is sexism. And I'm pissed about it, because not only does it make her feel crappy, it makes both of our lives harder for no fault of our own. Thank you for that clarification, actually. I never looked at it that way, but now that I have, it certainly is sexist. The subtle, unconscious aspects of it are part of the reason that it remains so pervasive. Harder to call it out when the perpetrators don't even really notice that they're doing it. And calling it out can make people defensive, which may make the situation worse. I worked in a lab that did that. Every guy got hired on at higher wages and moved up before the girls. When our team lead quit, they hired a brand new guy, with no lab experience and an English degree, to take the job rather than move any of us girls up, despite the most senior woman having 8 years experience with the company and being exceptional. He was unable to do the job, and when we brought it up to the next level up, they said he's clearly more competent than you, so clearly you're failing to teach him properly. The dude couldn't even use a scale in a lab. I don't think it was deliberate or conscious. I genuinely think they just perceived men as automatically better. The irony was the dudes never lasted. They never hired a single competent, hard-working dude. Other departments did. I'm seriously confused about that. In what world are subordinates supposed to be teaching your supervisor? Sure, you can be the guy for office culture and the little quirks unique to that work environment, but someone coming in with any sort of authority needs to already know their crap. If he can't work a scale in the lab, then he's obviously not competent. I'm amazed your lab had any sort of success. Also, on my own personal note, I'm highly confused about hiring an English degree for a lab. Any type of lab work I've seen that needed a degree insisted on something in the science realm. I have no idea, it was straight up BS, and I quit the company for different, and also extremely unethical reasons. Nothing sucks more than training your boss to do his job and having to start from the most basic of basics, and having him remind you he's in charge when you tell him he's messed things up. Report it to whoever monitors wage equality. A company can get a serious fine for that. Unfortunately, as a small private business, there's not much recourse. The company has fewer than 20 employees, and thus isn't subjected to many of the same rules other companies are. On top of that, it would be an uphill legal battle that we don't have the money to fight. It doesn't just make your now harder, but future as well when you consider earning potential, retirement savings, that are usually based on percentage of income, and Social Security earnings. So yeah, that figure of women earning 76 cents per $1 men earn doesn't truly account for a career span of being underpaid. I'm glad you quit, they don't deserve you. If you're in the USA, write a review on Glassdoor to warn off other people they'll try to take advantage of. That's what my parents and my friends told me that made me realize it was time for me to go. And I've told my other co-workers, but a lot of them don't have a plan B and aren't nearly as impulsive as I am. Yes, please do. Glassdoor is a fantastic resource for those of us who job hunt on the regular. Congratulations on leaving your job. I hope you find a position that rewards your skills with actual money commensurate to what you do. I think that's the wrong way to look at it. Look at it like any other job. You came in not knowing so much, you built your skills, you helped grow the business. What's next for you? $1 an hour raise? What should be next for you is growing your skills to yet another level. Find a restaurant that will teach you things that you'll never learn on your own, and then another. Whether you return to the family restaurant someday, take it over, or follow another path entirely, you will have stronger skills and better money will come from having them. The biggest issue I see is you are working like it's your business. Don't. At any business that you do not have a guaranteed part of, you'll generally end up used, abused, and disappointed before burning out. NTA, your dad is in butthole who either doesn't care you can't pay rent or wants to take advantage of a cheap chef, or both. Either way, you sound like your request is reasonable. Maybe in other areas he's struggling, but he shouldn't be neglecting his restaurant employees for the sake of other financial issues if he even has any. Not sure how, Like I said, we make more even despite the crisis. What we lost in terms of in-restaurant customers we more than make up for in terms of orders and takeout. My question is more like his personal finances. Does he have another business or is his mortgage barely affordable? I have seen many people who hide debts or loans to try to keep up a lifestyle. I would ask him seriously about those things, and if he doesn't have them, it sounds like he just doesn't want to pay you. Older people sometimes have issues with younger people being paid well, especially if it's more than they made at that age despite inflation and cost of living increases. I don't know, he doesn't have any other businesses, but he may struggle paying for the house. He bought it recently. But all in all, even if that is the case, which I doubt, I pretty much grew monthly income by a lot on my own. Paying me a proper wage would be a fraction of what I added already. Oh, either way, he's the butthole. I was just saying you may want to check on that stuff because he's your dad. Otherwise, I tell you to just tell him to F off and quit. My guesses would be jealousy/cheapness or lives above his means, and if not, that he has like a gambling or drug problem. He bought a house recently? It looks like he must be raking in the cash, and instead of paying fair wages he indulged himself with a better/bigger house, or I could be wrong and the new house is a downsize. Either way, get out and find a place that will pay you what you are worth. Recently as in after you turned the business around? If so, you now know where the money you should be making went. You need to have a business, not family, discussion with him. He is taking advantage of you being family. You have made it clear the value you bring to the business here on this thread, now just do it with him. If he is a half-smart business owner, he will also be able to put aside the family aspect and think of you as an employee during such discussion. What does he expect you to do if you can't make rent? NTA, obvious. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.